Florida had a remarkable in-season turnaround last year. After they got blown out and humiliated in the swamp by Texas A&M, I thought it was all but over for Billy Napier. I thought that his fate was sealed. I thought that it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when he was going to get fired. And instead of losing his job, all he did was have a sporadic in-season turnaround when all of a sudden the defense improved. The offense looked really good after the Graham Mertz injury, and DJ Lagway came in and led them to an 8-5 finish. And with how great Florida played down the stretch, having back-to-back upset wins against Ole Miss and LSU, is a huge reason why I'm buying a lot of stock into the Florida Gators this year under Billy Napier. But despite the optimism that I share with a good amount of folks, the Billy Napier doubters are still there, and they're louder than ever. And if you don't believe that Florida is going to have a good season, it's mainly because you don't believe in Billy Napier, a.k.a. Sunbelt Billy. Either you just believe that he's not a good coach, he's in over his head, the SEC is too much for him, or you're just not a fan of his play calling. And I do think that there are some valid criticisms of Billy Napier. You know, the play calling could be a lot better. The end-game decision-making isn't always the best at times, especially in the fourth quarter. But you got to give Billy Napier credit when it's due for the turnaround that he was able to engineer with Florida last year. Because when they had those blowout losses at home to Miami and Texas A&M, the season could have easily spiraled for him. And for him to right the ship as early as what he did, it's a sign that he does have the ability to be a good coach. He may not be a coach that can lead you to a national championship, but he at least can be serviceable enough to where you're not going to bottom out under him. And that's what we saw out of Florida last year. And I feel what Billy Napier deserves a lot of credit for, that the naysayers are hesitant to give him, is that he was winning last season in spite of the amount of injuries that they had to deal with. They started a good amount of underclassmen last year, and they all performed pretty well. And that was a big reason why Florida gave him another year to prove himself, because at least 60 to 70% of Florida's NIL money is tied into the underclassmen that were responsible for Florida's turnaround last year. We know about DJ Lagway, who was a true freshman All-American, and how fantastic he looked, but true freshman running back Jaden Ball was also really good. And fun fact, when DJ Lagway and Jaden Ball started for Florida last season, they were 3-0. And not only were those guys balling out as true freshmen, but you had a few freshmen who were balling out on defense as well. And Billy Napier has done a really good job of not just recruiting, but developing talent, and also making really good transfer portal additions as well. And when Florida used the transfer portal last year, they had a top 5 portal class, and they struck gold on a lot of guys. Elijah Badger, Chimray DK were Florida's 2 best receivers last year. George Gums Jr. was 3rd on the team in sacks last season. And then the year before that, 2023, you landed Caleb Banks, who to me is the best defensive tackle in the nation at the moment. So Billy Napier has a really good eye for spotting talent, and a lot of the guys that he has recruited are going to be impact players for the Gators this year. We know about Lagway and Jaden Ball, but Eugene Wilson, he's a name that kind of has been forgotten about because he missed the majority of last season due to injuries. Jordan Castell, he had a really good freshman season. Not too long ago, he was a SEC freshman. Well, he made it on the SEC all-freshman team his first year starting. So you got a bunch of guys that, with added years of experience, should be really good for the Gators this year, along with the transfer portal finds that Billy Napier has been able to get. I think that Florida is destined for a 9-win season, and possibly they could win 10 games if they're able to beat either Texas or upset Georgia, which I think that they can at least win one of those games. You get Texas at home, Georgia's a rivalry game. I feel with the team that Florida has coming into this year, the gap between them and Georgia isn't as wide as what it's been in years past. And with the healthy DJ Lagway, I feel he could kind of turn things in Florida's favor. But the Billy Napier naysayers, they're never going to shut up until Billy Napier is just able to just shut the door closed on them and he's really able to put together a really good season. 8 wins is okay, but that's not what the standard is at Florida, which is understandable. I understand if you have higher expectations for what Florida should be, and you're right to have those. But progress isn't always linear. Dan Mullen didn't do a great job of recruiting. He brought in some good classes, but unlike Billy Napier's recruiting classes, a lot of the guys Dan Mullen brought in didn't really see the field, and they didn't stick with the program like how Billy Napier's recruiting classes have with the guys that he has been able to get. And I don't think that Dan Mullen was that good in the transfer portal neither. So there are a lot of things that Billy Napier has done a better job at doing as far as building up Florida's roster compared to what Dan Mullen is. And as far as the play calling goes, look, DJ Lagway was a true freshman All-American. So if Billy Napier's play calling was good enough for him to be that good, then I don't really see it being an issue. And when you have a guy as talented as what DJ Lagway is, he can make an average play caller look a lot better than what they actually are, because he can turn a bad play into a good play and a good play into a great play. That's what happens when you land the kind of generational talent that DJ Lagway is. So I have a lot of confidence that Billy Napier is going to have a really big fourth season down there in Gainesville. Like I said, I think Florida goes 9-3 with the ceiling of being 10-2, and maybe they make an appearance in the SEC championship game or make it into the college football playoffs.